Chris Cartman, son of a source. Kenny, just wanted, is there any update on any injuries, guys who might for sure will miss a game?
Yeah, so Prince Dorba is going to be out the first, 2 to 4 weeks, somewhere in there, coming back off of a knee injury. He's already had surgery and he's on his way back. Sean Naw, very similar timeline from that perspective. Different injury, but, they had to go in there with him under the knife, so he's out, very similar timeline, another 2 to 4 weeks, somewhere in there. Raleek Brown is battling back from a hamstring, and he hit 90% or right around 90% the other day in practice, so I don't have a true timeline. I doubt / he will not play this week. And then from there, we're fairly healthy. I think through a physical camp, we had some guys go down there, but luckily for us, nothing was out for the season, nothing along those terms.
Is there anything on Tate Romney?
Yeah, Tate broke his arm, so he'll be out here for 4 to 6 weeks, if not a little bit longer, but probably 4 to 6.
Hi, Kenny. Hood Rubino, Devil's Digest. You didn't pretend to ignore the preseason poll, and also I know you half jokingly said that there's some players on your team that are rejects, the previous team that, didn't want them. But in all seriousness, is this, us against the world or however you want to term it? Is this something that really contributed to the team culture? Because I know you're very happy with the team culture, really happy with the team psyche. Is that part of the process?
No, everybody, it's such coach talk when people say the kids or the coaches don't see something out there. You can hide it from yourself, but somebody's going to send you a text message. Whether you let it affect you or not, it's a different story. But it's more like, yeah, nobody believes in you. You should have a little bit of chip on your shoulder from that perspective. But great teams are not built off of what the media's perception of them is. Great teams are built because they're wired in a way to just get better throughout the process every single day. And that's what we've been focused on. And yeah, do I put it up on the screen every once in a while? Of course. Why would I not? But if our identity of our football team is let's prove a whole bunch of people who don't know who we are wrong, then we're teaching a horrible message to our players, not just in football, but in life.
Doug, and then that's one to the back. We'll go with Blake. Hi, Kenny. Doug Haller, The Athletic. Speaking of chips on shoulders, I talked to Cam Scadaboo for a little bit the other day, a guy with one scholarship offer coming out of college or coming out of high school. What's the lesson in his journey from where he was to where he is? Yeah, just keep fighting. And I think the biggest thing for him is how much he's matured in the last, since the season, it's 8 months. He went from, it's just incredible. He's a different person, just from a maturity level, from a focus level, from how he practices, how he puts in the work in the offseason. That's a guy who I couldn't be more proud of in terms of how he's changed his outlook on work. And I think he's just a great story in terms of keep pushing and don't let people tell you can't do something. Can you still feel the chip on his shoulder?
Oh, yeah. He lives it every single day. He lives with the chip on his shoulder. But I think even now he's starting to know that he can achieve. I think before he may have thought he could achieve these things, and I'm going to have this chip on my shoulder that I should be there. I should accomplish this. And I think he's realized that, man, that is actually a realistic possibility now. Before it was almost out of reach, and now it's all of those things he had a chip on his shoulder for are possible. So I think for him, he had to take a different approach of, wow, I got to stop the way I'm preparing or the way I do things with everything is me against the world and start saying, how can I just maximize myself and what can I do to be better instead of find somebody to say why I should be better. And I think he's really changed a lot of how he processes to him versus him. And I think that's been the biggest jump for him is he's been competing versus himself every single day. We're doing special teams. He's starting on our kickoff team. He's our L5. He's the position, one of the positions that's going to come down and hit you in the face, right? And it's the mentality of our football team is we're going to put our best players on special teams. And we have the depth to do that now, and he wants to do that. and he runs down and he hits 20 and a half miles an hour almost every day in practice when he does that period. Last year, no chance. Would he have, one, wanted to be on kickoff? Two, would he have run down full speed? Three, would he have hit 20 or 20 and a half miles per hour? But his mindset has changed, has put him in a situation to where he gets excited to sprint full speed down on our kickoff team and hit 20 miles per hour every single day. And I think I showed that to the team the other day because that's a reflection of what I want our football team to be.
Blake and then Zach, or Max, sorry.
Blake Neiman, Sun Devil Source. Kenny, for you personally, where do you feel you are in your ability to lead and to be a head coach comparatively to year one, now heading into your second season?
Yeah, I hope better, but at the reality, you don't know what you don't know when you're talking about yourself. Like, I don't know if I was ever a good OC. I don't know if I was ever a good quarterback coach, like relative me versus me. It's really hard to judge yourself. So I would hope through experience that I'm better this year. I would hope through experience that I've grown as well as the players have grown and our team has grown.
Hey, Kenny, Max Cepeda, Arizona's Family, CBS 5. What has the process been like with you and your staff trying to break down this Wyoming program and this scheme? And in comparison to what you had to deal with week one last year in Southern Utah, which was an FCS team, how different has that process been like?
Yeah, well, obviously, new head coach, promoted from within from the defense coordinator role. This is a head coach he's a veteran. You know, he's worked for some of the best head coaches in the country, dating back to his time at Minnesota, Wake Forest, Wyoming, going back to small ball, starting at Mount Union. So having his entire process of he's only been around winning teams and winning cultures. And then the identity of who that guy is, promoting the linebacker coach to become the defense coordinator, Bull, who's the son of the retired old head coach, because they were good on defense and they wanted to keep the same philosophy. So on defense, you kind of have a beat for how they want to operate. At the same token, they were really good on defense, but everybody changes and has wrinkles. So trying to stay ahead of the curve of what wrinkles may they add in their system, what teams in their system have added wrinkles in the past that they may now add from the same coaching tree, right? So you kind of chase some ghosts, try not to chase too many, but you definitely have to chase some this offseason in order to keep you sanely insane as a coach, right? You got to do that. And then from their offensive side of the ball, it's a little trickier because you're adding a guy who's been a coordinator before from a different scheme, a guy who was way more tempo, a guy who was more 11 personnel, more open sets, RPOs, and that was completely different from what they were in the past. So how much are they going to keep their identity of we're going to shorten games and make it 8 or 9 possession games versus do we want 12 or 13 possession games? And everything you read says that they're going to speed up the tempo and they want to do that. But we'll see, what their identity became over fall camp. Nobody knows that. And we all know they can have the identity to run the football at you directly, not around you, directly, and shorten games. So that's still going to be there if they need it. It's just going to be a matter of what they choose to do. And we can read all the articles we want, but the identity of a football team that won 9 games that had Texas tied and beat Texas Tech last year was a team that limited possessions, won the turnover battle, played great defense, and punted the football on the plus 45. And I'd be shocked if that identity completely changed with all the success they've had there.
Mike and then Noah.
Coach, right here.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Mike Wilson, Sports Byline Radio. Just seeing that Sam's the guy, at least for week one and moving forward, is there anything else that you've had to tell him to different, going into, game week other than, the stuff you've already told him? Is he approaching it the same way?
Yeah, I mean, he's a worker. So, no, there isn't. I mean, the biggest thing I always tell quarterbacks is you're going to lose way more games than you win them. Mike, 2nd and 10, I'm great. First down throwaways, I'm great. Right? Midfield throwaways, I'm great. 3rd down throwaways or make a play, don't turn the ball over, I'm great. But when we get into plus situations, when we get into favorable situations, you can't put yourself in 2nd and 16 because not many quarterbacks are going to be good if they're in 2nd and 16s in the football game or 3rd and 12s. So it's more don't force anything, play your game, And it's okay to throw it away. Not every play has to be perfect. And I think sometimes when you deal with guys that study so much and they prepare so much and they want everything to be perfect, when something spooks them or when it's not what they thought, they try to make a play. And I think there's times to make a play. And then there's times to go to the next play. And I think that's really what I've been harping with him is when are the downs that you can, 3rd and 11, and there's a free runner on you? Yeah, make a play. Make a miss. Go be athletic. What's the worst that happens? You get sacked? 2nd and 4, and there's a free runner on you? You try to make a play and get sacked to get us to 3rd and 11, right? It's not going to be a fun sideline. Throw the ball away. Let's stay at 3rd and 4. You're too good to be stopped 2 plays in a row. So I think that mentality is what we've really been harping, and it's the same thing we've been harping in spring ball, the same thing we've been harping all fall camp.
Noah, then Colin.
No for title, son of a source. Xavier Alford and Jake Smith are less than a week away from their first game in a very long time. Given what they had to endure last season, what has stood out to you about how they handled that process to now be in this position where they're going to make
Yeah, I think it just makes them appreciate the practices more. Like just everything more because both those guys haven't played in, I think, over 1,000 days. Like 1,000 days they have not played in a football game. Both those guys were, 5-star recruits, high 4-star recruits that everybody in the country wanted. They both left the school and went to another elite program. That's how high people were on both those kids. And for them to be 1,000 days since their last game for a multitude of reasons, I think they're excited that they're finally going 1,000 days of work for Saturday. Process that. Doing something for 1,000 days just to play this game on Saturday. That's pretty powerful, and I think you see it in how they prepare, see it in their focus level, how they treat their body in the off season.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up to that. What was your message to them when the news, was released that they weren't going to be able to play, that they weren't going to be eligible last season?
Last year? Yeah. Oh, this sucks. But what are you going to do about it? Nothing. So let's just keep getting better. Like, not everything is like roses and candy canes. That's part of it. Like, the reality is the reality. And sometimes the sooner you tell people the reality and start sugarcoating crap, the sooner they can get by it. So, yeah, this sucks. Maybe you'll get it fixed. Maybe it won't. But it's just keep working. What are you going to do? Stop working? Then become worse? And then when you get to play, be a worse player? No. Just keep working. And eventually you're going to take the field. And that's going to be this Saturday.
Colin and Jake.
Kenny, building off that last one, the excitement you talked about with those two guys, just generally speaking, I mean, what's your sense in the room right now? Obviously, camp behind. You can start talking about an opponent. You can start talking about running out there on Saturday night. I mean,
yeah, I think the guys are in a really good place. I think they're competing, Tuesday's practice, Saturday's practice, which was a Tuesday, was on par with the first shoulder padded practice of fall camp. In terms of workload, like our guys want it, like they want to be good, like they want to be successful. They love the game, and I think that's what I'm kind of most pleased with through it all is the want to is there. Right now, we're going to have to go and be able to do that under the fire. Right, I would say we had a speaker, Coach Shep, the other day, and he hit a really good point. He said, the commitment is there. The commitment is kind of what I talk about, the minimum standard, showing up 5 minutes early, being in the right gear, doing what you're supposed to do, show up to class. That's the commitment to the team. What are you willing to sacrifice, right, is what separates teams. And I think our guys are committed, right? And I think in this next cycle of the next 14 weeks, what are we going to be willing to sacrifice to actually be successful? And those are two different things.
Hey, Kenny, Jake Seymour, Thunderable Source. With the new rules regarding the in-helmet communications, how do you guys plan to utilize that this year, and how is the process coming along with using that new technology?
Yeah, we've been using it all spring ball, all fall camp. Even during the walkthroughs, we put a little walkie-talkie in the guys' ears. So we've been using it, and it's been good. You get to communicate with the quarterback. You get to communicate with a defender of your choosing, and it helps us be able to see formations on the defensive side of the ball and get into the right play based off of formational tendencies. And on offense, we've got to be ready to see people checking, coordinators checking to their Mike linebacker mid-play or post-check, which is a little bit different. And you got to be able to operate faster in your own offensive checks because of that, because knowing that there's a coordinator in the Mike or the safety or the will linebacker's ear that's going to say, hey, if he checks here, I want you to blitz opposite, bring corner cat opposite, whatever that is. Everybody's going to operate differently. That's not how we operate, but some teams will operate like that.
Kenny, Luke Linden here, 12 Sports. I'm curious, you spoke a little bit earlier about experience and not knowing how to judge yourself via experience, but obviously you've gotten more experience. So coming into your second year, what do you think is the biggest difference for you that maybe is a little bit easier, a little bit better for you to be prepared for this compared to last year?
Yeah, I mean, I really love the direction of both sides of the ball schematically. Like now even the defense side of the ball, like I'm way more familiar from a verbiage standpoint with what's happening offensively. Both sides of the ball, and special teams wise, I feel like I'm way more involved in all three phases than I was last year, in which I was, kind of battling a side of the ball. This year I'm way more balanced, and that puts me at a lot more ease, knowing that I'm going in the defensive room, special team room, and I'm giving my 2 cents, and I have enough time this year to kind of watch all those three phases and give my opinion in all three phases, and then see what the plans are, instead of like, hey, what's the plan real quick? Oh, we're going to bring blitz to the back. Okay, perfect. See you later. Whatever that is, I'm way more balanced from a head coach as opposed to just sitting in one room 90% of the time and then trying to, speed date to learn what the other sides of the ball are doing that week.
Damon and Jordan.
Hey, Coach. Damon Allred, Arizona Sports. With the offensive line, I know the injury bug has bitten you already a little bit, but what is your comfort level compared with how it looked last year, as well as how you expect it to handle the Big 12 season?
Yeah, I definitely think through camp we're in a good spot from an injury standpoint up front. Some things you can't control and you can't control them, but I think we're in a good spot. I definitely feel like we have the depth to go into a season. Which last year it was, if we stay healthy, we got to stay healthy. We can't have an injury, and then when it rains, it pours. This year, obviously you can't control some things, but I definitely feel like we're in a situation that we can, if a guy's helmet pops off and we got to put somebody else in, that we have enough depth early in the season to survive some things from that could potentially happen, which is a huge positive. When you go to a game and you're like, if we lose one guy, we're screwed. That's not very fun.
And then on the other side of the ball, what does the secondary have to do to be able to create takeaways?
Yeah, catch the football. I mean, you got to catch it, right? And then you got to swarm the ball. We didn't create enough fumbles last year. Everybody talks about turnovers and interceptions, and that's nice, right? You've got to be a good player in the good position and then make a play, right? But creating fumbles is a lot of effort. Like, you've got to harass the football 24/7. You've got to run to the football, so when the ball's on the ground, you recover it, right? Those types of fumbles, there's some luck involved for sure, but there's also some teams consistently create them because they're swarming the ball. They always fall on the ball. They're lucky. Well, why are they always falling on the ball? Because they run to the ball harder than the opposing team's offense does. And then they strip at the ball. They make it a torture to run the football every single game because they're going to take shots on the ball. And they're going to miss the ball and hit your arm. And they're going to play the game with violence every single time that the running back's held up, the wideout's held up. And I think that's something that we've been emphasizing in terms of takeaways is swarm the ball. And if a guy is held up, strip at the ball, punch at the ball, make it hell to run the football, right? Because we're going to attack it every single snap.
Hey, Kenny. Jordan Ham, Sports 360 AZ. You've created a lot of situations this offseason, a lot of adversity to see and learn about this team. What don't you know about this team that you won't know until they take the field on Saturday that's on the front of your mind heading into week one?
Yeah, how much they trust each other in the moment. I think it's really easy to say, oh, I'm going to squeeze and tackle the back because I know my linebacker is going to scrape and play the quarterback in practice on 3rd and 1. Who cares? But when it's 3rd and 1 and it's a tie game and your job is to squeeze and tackle the back and the quarterback just pulled it and ran it 2 plays earlier, right? And he got a first down. Are you still going to trust that the person behind you is going to do their job? And are they going to trust that you're going to do yours? And I think that's what makes really good defenses and really good football teams are the trust that in the biggest moments, you just have to do your job because you trust the other person will do theirs. And that's not a commitment thing. That's not anything more than under the fire, under the lights, when it matters the most, you've got to be able to take a deep breath and trust that the other 11 are going to do their job. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to, is I'm looking forward to how much do we trust each other that you can just go play your game and do your job.
Tim Healy, ASU Radio.
Sorry.
Kenny, for the first time now, college football is going to have a 2-minute warning at the end of each half. I'm wondering, do you see that having any kind of strategic impact or the way you approach the final 2 minutes of a half?
Yeah,
or a
I
game?
mean, it does, because it gives every team another timeout. So essentially, you can't end a game with over 2 minutes left on first down. Before you could, before the game could be over, because you could run the clock out. Now 2:04 left, right? You're punting if every play is 5 seconds, so 45, 90. You're punting with roughly 35 seconds left in the football game, right? So before, that would have been the end of the game. So there's going to be more times, in my opinion, because of the extra timeout, that you're punting with 25, 24, that you're probably doing some in-game scenario stuff. So it doesn't affect the players or much of the game. It just affects clock management at the end. You know, in college, you could really have a clock sheet out to like the 4-minute and 30-second mark, 5-minute mark in terms of what you wanted to do. And do you fall down and not score? Do you score? It makes it way more difficult with the 2-minute warning because you can't. In the past, you may hit a big run and fall down with 2:30 left, knowing that the game can be over. Well, now you can't do that until under 2 minutes. So it does create like an easier barrier for game day situations. So I actually think it's easier for coaches in college to work the end of the game versus before, when you kind of had more time that you could do some, clock situations in terms of not scoring and be creative.
One more. All right, this last one.
Hey, Coach. Jake Sloan, Devil's Digest. In the NFL this season, we're going to see, we've seen in the preseason already with the NFL kickoffs, the new formations. Do you think we could see that come into college football anytime soon?
I think anything you see in the NFL is a year or two away from college. So I think anytime that you see something, you should just plan on that eventually getting into the college game for the most part. You saw the 2-minute warning just enter. I think that's just the nature of it. Is the NFL does it first. They're a smaller organization that can really change things really, really fast and quickly, whereas there's a lot of teams in college football. A little bit more difficult just to get a meeting with 32 owners and change rules, as opposed to in college football, there's a few more people have to agree. Thank you.